You've been scrolling through endless acoustic guitar videos, wondering if there's a model that actually feels solid enough for weekly jam sessions, sounds good enough to impress a small crowd, and won't empty your wallet the moment you see the price tag. That hesitation is real. You don't want to end up with a gorgeous-looking instrument that sounds like a practice amp or a cheap-looking one that wears out after a few months. The Martin D18 Satin Standard in that gorgeous 1935 Sunburst finish promises a blend of classic looks and Martin's reputation, but the question is whether it delivers the everyday reliability you need. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. When I started digging, the first thing I noticed was the combination of a spruce top with mahogany back and sides. In plain language terms, that pairing gives you a bright, articulate voice that still has enough warmth to sit nicely in a folk rock mix. It's the kind of tone you can hear clearly whether you're playing a simple open chord progression at a backyard barbecue or a finger-picked arrangement on a tiny stage. The spruce is responsive enough that even a modest pick attack can bring out a crisp attack, while the mahogany adds a subtle mid-range richness that prevents the sound from feeling too thin. The neck is a select hardwood, finished with an ebony fingerboard that feels smooth but not slippery. For players with smaller hands, the satin-finished ebony gives a gentle grip that helps with quick position shifts without the sticky feeling some glossy boards have. I tried a few chord shapes that typically cause fatigue on lower-priced guitars, bar chords at the 12th fret, for example, and the next shape stayed comfortable after an hour of playing. That's a practical strength you won't see in the spec sheet, a neck that actually respects your hand during a long set. Now, let's talk about the day-to-day reality of owning this guitar. I took the D18 to a coffee shop open mic night, to a family gathering where the acoustic was the only instrument allowed, and even used it for a quick recording session with a laptop and a cheap audio interface. In each scenario, the guitar projected well enough that I didn't have to fight the room's ambient noise, yet it also blended nicely when I was backing up a vocalist. The natural resonance of the mahogany back helped fill the lower frequencies, meaning I didn't need to crank my amp or rely on heavy post-processing to get a full sound. For someone who wants a workhorse that can transition from casual strumming to modest live gigs without sounding thin, the D18 hits that sweet spot. One practical weakness shows up when you consider the weight. The combination of spruce and mahogany, plus the solid hardwood neck, makes the instrument a tad heavier than a typical laminate top guitar you might see in entry-level stores. If you're a traveling musician who carries a strap for hours, you'll notice the extra half-pound. It's not a deal-breaker, but it's worth keeping in mind if you have a history of neck or shoulder fatigue. Another subtle trade-off is the finish. The Satin 1935 Sunburst is beautiful, but the satin coating is less protective than a high-gloss finish. A few minor scratches appeared after a couple of weeks of being tossed into a gig case, though they didn't affect the tone. If you plan to keep the guitar pristine for display, you might need to be a bit more careful or invest in a higher-grade case. Who should walk away from this guitar? If you're a total beginner looking for a budget instrument that can survive a few drops and a lot of cheap strings, you might find the price steep for the features you truly need. There are more affordable models that will get you started without the same tonal nuance. Likewise, professional touring players who demand ultra-lightweight, ultra-thin bodies for extreme endurance may prefer a modern cutaway design or a carbon fiber alternative. The D18's classic dreadnought shape, while iconic, isn't the easiest to maneuver on cramped stage setups. On the flip side, the D18 is a solid match for intermediate players who have outgrown the basic folk guitars and are ready for a richer voice without diving into a full-blown custom shop. It also suits songwriters who spend long hours in a home studio. The responsive spruce top makes it easy to capture subtle dynamics, while the mahogany back provides a warm foundation that fills out recordings without needing a lot of EQ. If you enjoy fingerstyle and want an instrument that can articulate each note cleanly, the Satin Ebony Fingerboard's low-friction surface will feel like an upgrade from the standard rosewood boards you might have used before. Another aspect I tested was how the guitar reacts to different string gauges. With a standard light set, 0.012 to 0.053, the tension felt comfortable and the tone was bright. When I swapped to a heavier set for a more bluesy vibe, the neck held its shape, and the extra mass on the strings gave the lower notes a satisfying weight without any buzzing. This adaptability is a practical strength you rarely